So I think that's a great discussion point, which we will spin out into a YouTube video for later on. But for those of you who are here live right now, we just had a great question over on TikTok from Next Gen Gamer Dad. Said, I had heard to play as Fane, but I may go back and do a custom character. Whether it's this game or Baldur's Gate 3, one of the unique things that Larian has done as a company is create the ability to not only to be able to do custom characters that have no background, and you get to make up the background. It's your character. You can do, you have your own backstory, or you can go through and play an origin story character, which already has their own unique backgrounds, histories. There's cutscenes to go along with those characters during the character creation process, so that you can get a little bit more of who they are and everything else. And then they bring all of their own baggage to the table. So I think if it's your first time playing a game like this, Pepperoni saying GamerDad, I think Fane or Ephon are the best for a first playthrough. Right, if it's your very first time playing the game, I think you really do. It's just, do you want to have a unique experience that you fully control, where it's your character and it's your background, or do you want sort of a guided experience where you're stepping into the role of another character, which is no different than like if you've ever played like the God of War games, and you're playing as the God of War, if you're playing Star Wars Outlaws and you're playing as Cave S, or you're playing insert name of the third person or first person adventure game here where you are playing as that player character. I think that's one of the really cool things that Larian Studios has done with these games is give you the choice. It's just more player agency of saying, do you want to be able to um, play your own story, or do you want to play someone else's story? Either way, you're gonna have an adventure that's gonna be fun. Um, but that player choice and that player agency, because one of the things is like, obviously we just saw, my character has some unique dialogue options in this conversation based on my stats, right? But if you are a origin character, there are additional dialogue choices that show up based on your background. And that's something where they've added that flavor to the game, where it's, you still get all the flavor if you're playing your own character, but it's based on your class decisions, your racial decisions, in this case, talents and other things, or tags, I think is what it is. So yeah, it's kind of up to you. Next it says, that's what I enjoyed about Baldur's Gate 3. I made it custom and it was more enjoyable. Yeah, I think it's just about player agency and what you're going to prefer for your playthrough. I'm doing, since this is kind of like, it'll be my first official playthrough of this game, even though I dabbled back in 2019. I'm doing custom because I like to control my own character, and because part of what's going on here is the origin characters, just like in Baldur's Gate 3, you're going to adventure with the origin characters. So you're still going to get to experience the origin characters in your party if you choose to take them, and you could still partake in their story from a peripheral perspective, right? So you might not play as Fane, but you can still have Fane in your party. I think his backstory is really cool. You can still have Ephon in your party, so on and so forth, and their stories still play out for you, just like in Baldur's Gate 3. Like if you have Gale in your party, his story is very powerful. Shadowheart's story is very powerful. All those characters have powerful stories, and they are very impactful to you as a custom character. But then, if you play as those characters, you get a completely different perspective on what they're going through because you're playing as those characters, which also I think just adds to the um, it adds to the replayability if you find these games incredibly um, um, entertaining.